Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Tuesday the 15th of January 2019. I'm Darren Sinden and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @ds_Pepperstone. Okay, let's kick off with a look at the overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. And the theme really this morning is a resumption of trends that we saw developing late last week. For example, strength in the pound sterling up by 0.39% as part of the cable rate. Cable trading at 129.1330 shortly before we recorded the video. The Australian dollar back on the front foot, gains of 0.32% against the US dollar, and a near neighbour, the Kiwi, also making gains against its US counterpart. The dollar was on the front foot elsewhere in Asia, gains for the US dollar against the Japanese yen as part of dollar yen 108.72. Dollar yen trading, the rate rising by around 0.51%. The Brazilian real was also back on track, taking 0.35% off of the greenback overnight. Dollar index for its part, taking it all in its stride really, 95.54 trading shortly before we recorded the video, largely unchanged and pretty much mid-range, and I would suggest looking for directional cues, if I can put it like that. Right, what's on the calendar then? Events that may move the markets today. Pretty busy calendar, not too much in the way of high impact data, however. We do have the small matter, of course, of that vote in the UK Parliament on Brexit, which we'll look at in a little bit more detail a little later on. We've had already this morning machine tool orders for December out of Japan. Preliminary reads this down at minus 18.3%, lower than the prior read and lower than forecast too. So not great news there for Japanese manufacturing industry. We'll have to come at 7:45 CPI data out of France for the month of December, alongside the country's budget for November. That'll be followed at 10 a.m. by trade balance data out of the Eurozone for the month of November. And then we take a pause until 13:30 when we jump over the Atlantic and we have New York or Empire State Manufacturing Index data for January. And that's accompanied by a raft of producer price index data out of the US for the month of December, so factory gate inflation measures there. And at 13:55, the Red Book index data for the week of January the 11th. That is, of course, if that data has been compiled during the government shutdown. So we'll be interested to see if that release actually does hit the calendar. Or the tape, perhaps. Then at 1500, first of the day's central banker speeches, and perhaps Brexit vote aside, the most important event on the calendar. ECB President Mario Draghi will be speaking, as I say, at 3 o'clock GMT. And then at 1800 GMT, we'll have the second central bank speech of the day, and that's from the Fed member George. Then we pause again until 21:30 for the API weekly crude oil stocks data out of the US for the week of January the 11th. And then we will move forward to 23:50, cross over to Japan for domestic corporate goods price index data for December and machinery orders final reads for the month of November. Okay, breaking news and comment then that's caught my eye overnight. First of all, China has announced tax cuts and rebates overnight in order to stimulate its slowing economy. Chinese stocks have rallied on the news. Meanwhile, Mexico's government has said that it expects to meet its 2019 funding needs, which are equivalent of around 7.2% of the country's GDP, by tapping the local markets, and will only tap into international investors when conditions allow, and that will be part of a separate program. Quite a bold boast by the Mexican government. Let's see if they can stick to it. And speaking of bold boasts by governments, UK MPs will today vote on Theresa May's Brexit plan. At the moment, there seems little chance that the PM can win this vote without a massive change of heart on the part of lawmakers, both in her own party and on the opposition benches. So a very tough day and perhaps a very decisive day, one way or the other, for the Brexit process. Okay, food for thought then, something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. And why not think about this? The world's wealth, where it was made in 2018, and how it's distributed. This is data drawn from the Credit Suisse Global Wealth Data Book for 2018. And the table here on our left shows the total wealth globally as estimated by Credit Suisse and the changing wealth over the course of the last year. As you can see, most of the regions in the world have been growing. as far as wealth is concerned. Latin America, the only laggard, and the world's total wealth grew by 4.6%. On a per adult basis, that was an improvement on a global basis of 3.2% year on year. So that's quite a positive theme, I think, that that wealth has been growing and growing globally. But then we need to look at the table on the right, which shows the distribution of that wealth. By far the largest cohort of around 3.2 trillion people, billion people I should say, are in this lower band with wealth of less than $10,000. There's 1.3 trillion in this mid band here, with wealth between 10,000 and 100,000 US dollars and so on. And obviously the very smallest cohort at the top, with those with more than $1 million to their name. I believe that's 42 million people, or just 0.8% of the global populace. So much work to be done on the distribution of wealth, but nonetheless it's a positive story that wealth is growing globally. Okay, please take a moment to read this risk warning. Trading CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're in any doubt about those risks or the suitability of leveraged products for you, then please do contact your Pepperstone account representative and do take the time to read this risk warning thoroughly. Thank you very much for your time today.